Zaire Franklin, the Colts linebacker, he was on Chris Long's Green Light podcast.
Great podcast, by the way.
Yeah. I like how they brought Kyle into it more now, too. They have a good, obviously, they're brothers, good banter. Here he is talking about C.J. Stroud and there being no rivalry with the Tennessee Titans.
Well, here's what I want to discuss. If you could have a beef with any team in the AFC South, would it be the Titans?
No, because I already smacked them a couple of times. It really be Houston. I'm not going to lie to you. I love CJ, man. I support all our young brothers at quarterback, but CJ, he didn't say a lot of wild stuff to me, and our run-ins, at the Super Bowl, at All-Star.
What did he say?
Many times, and he feeling himself. But look, he in Tokyo, so congrats. I'm happy for you, but I need to see that boy again.
Ooh.
It's interesting that Zaire Franklin is talking about C.J. Stroud the same way C.J. Stroud talks about Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this interview continues, and I'm very curious as to how the next showdown between the Texans and Colts goes. But Stroud believes he's done very well against the Colts in the 2 games that he's played against them. And I will say, statistically, he was good in week 2. I know a lot of people on the Twitch were like, it's garbage time numbers.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's terrible. A lot of you did do that. But this was Zaire Franklin a little bit later saying that, hey, man, let's slow your roll a little bit about owning the horseshoes.
He was on there talking about how he cooked the Colts in both games. And I saw him and I pulled him aside and I was like, when you play Anthony, it was like 28-7 in like the second quarter. We were kind of blowing you out. I mean, we were playing cover 2 shell, 2-minute prevent for 2 quarters and a half. So you threw for 300 yards, but you were getting blown out.
That's not a cooking.
Yeah, and he was like, bro, I ain't cook you. And I'm like, look, if that's what you consider a cooking with the loss, I mean, congratulations. And, and then I have to remind him as well that he's never beaten Anthony. So, yeah.
I love this. You're a psychological warfare guy.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Stroud had the big throw, first play of the game against the Colts to Nico Collins, and it was a bit of a struggle for the Texans offense after that. They are fortunate that they won that game. Gardner Minshew was horrible in that game. I'm going to keep on telling people this. I know that we are all very optimistic about the Texans going into this year, but I think Zaire Franklin's right here in that the Colts have a lot more in the Texans-Colts games to look back on and smile about than the Texans do from who won the totality of those 2 games. If it was just those 2 games, playoff berth excluded, the Colts, if this was like aggregate or something like that, they won. But from did the Texans win when it mattered? Did the Colts choke when it mattered? That is ultimately what matters. That's how the Texans got into the playoffs and beat the Browns and played all right in the first half against the Ravens. But I'm just gonna tell everybody a lot. The Colts are not as far behind you as you think they are. As what they did last year with Gardner Minshew, who was very limited and awful in that game against the Texans. He was missing everything. Richardson should be better. Maybe not a lot better, but should be better.
Yeah, reminding myself of that. It does kind of, because Anthony Richardson, again, barely played for the Colts last year. Even in the game against the Texans, he only played the first half, or maybe even less than that. You do forget that they don't have Gardner Minshew at their quarterback, and they've had, not literally Gardner Minshew, but for the last 5 years, they've had different versions of Gardner Minshew at quarterback this entire time. So, yeah, Zaire Franklin's kind of talked me into, we talk so much about the schedule and how many primetime games that the Texans might have. This wasn't really ever mentioned as one, but you could talk me into an early season Thursday night game where it's Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud as an early AFC South kind of big divisional game between who we think probably the 2 best young quarterbacks in that division are. Depends, I guess, Lawrence, because he's actually at least finished seasons, unlike Anthony Richardson, but at least guys with high upside.
Would you do it week 1 with because Anthony Richardson's track history of getting hurt? If you're gonna do primetime Texans Colts, like, does it have to be like the first Sunday night game of the year?
Week 2 or something, or
So like you have a better chance of like him being there.
It feels
or
like
after the Colts bye week.
Week 2 Thursday game.
Yeah, week 2 Thursday or Monday.
Yeah.
Maybe even a Monday.
So maybe the Texans
Give them
play
a long
back-to-back
week.
Thursdays.
Give them a long week to recover.
Yeah. Just like we need to play the odds here of making sure that, we will have Anthony Richardson on the field for when they play CJ Stroud.
Didn't they sign Foles to be their backup, right? Am I remembering that right?
No, Flacco.
Same thing.
I mean, yeah, a little bit.
Except for Flacco more recently been good. I mean, Flacco, all things considered last year, was pretty damn good.
Yeah, Flacco had the early 2010s. Foles has had the late 2010s and 2020s.
Flacco, for his part, had some good moments early on in the Texans-Browns playoff game.
Yeah, he just threw a lot of picks.
The pick sixes were where they died.
And he was kind of like that the entire time he was in, where he would throw some picks, but he would throw some bombs anyway. It's just in the playoff game, all the picks that he threw were touchdowns.
Interceptions. And it was back-to-back, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just demoralizing as hell.
Yeah, it's going to be – I do think – I agree with you. The Colts are a bigger deal to the Houston Texans this year and their path to making the playoffs than a lot of people.
Yeah. I look, we're not saying the Colts are better, but those games were really close last year.
Definitely number one on the field rival
in the South, 100%
for 2024.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is Colts Texans as the favorites. I'd imagine, at least locally, I think we all agree. I think nationally that probably will be the consensus opinion once we get to July and August, is that it'll be between Colts and Texans.
So this isn't the first time that we've heard a handful of Indianapolis Colts players discussing CJ Stroud. If I remember correctly, Paul, I do feel like the tone's a little bit different.
Right you are, Joe, from this perspective. They were looking at CJ Stroud, and they weren't thinking that Stroud was overlooking the Indianapolis Colts. They just had respect for him. Mm-hmm. In the last segment, you heard from Zaire Franklin, a Colts linebacker. Franklin and another Colts linebacker, E.J. Speed, did a podcast episode, and they both sat back and were talking about all of the things that Stroud was able to do against them. Here's the first part of this clip.
First of all, was mad annoying. Ain't nothing worse in the defense than when you get them all scheduled. Like, you get them 1st and 20, 2nd and 20, 3rd and 16, and them get it. Oh, my God. What?
It hurt. That hurt.
Yeah,
That's
that shit hurt,
bro.
So, like,
and you back on the ball.
Oh, my God. You mad as shit on that first down. Like, that's when you get the, what the happened? Ooh.
On their side of the 50, you back on
Yeah, bro. Look, we covering man to man. I swear to God, I'm on Singletary. Covering man. I see the pocket collapsing. Singletary start, trying to break free. Scramble drill. I plaster. Eyes on it. Woo, woo. He break. All right, whatever. Then I see the ball go. I think it's going out of bounds. I'm just watching that bitch. Then I see Nico just running for that bitch. Ain't no way. He ain't doing. He caught that bitch. I'm like, Singletary just look at me like, that's CJ.
Yeah.
And that just let me know, like, dang, he be doing like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's CJ Stroud porn.
That's so funny. Like, CJ must have talked a lot of trash to Franklin, the first guy, because that definitely seemed like personal. He seemed definitely like way more frustrated with the actions of CJ Stroud, like verbally, and got clearly butthurt by it.
I don't know if he was butthurt by it. I think that there's a healthy level of respect. I think CJ Stroud's trash talk, and this is actually what I like about him. CJ Stroud's trash talk is, yeah, I just did that. And he'll say it.
I think this clip was also from January. Right. So this was like 2 weeks after the game had happened. Basically, this was still in the playoffs. It was still, the Texans were still in the playoffs. Colts obviously had time to podcast.
That's true. And they weren't done. There's a second part. These guys, again, we talk about athlete podcast duos. Mm-hmm. Stroud and Micah Parsons have been very fun. Zaire Franklin and E.J. Speed also very entertaining to listen to. More of them.
He won't even be looking at the read, and then he got about one more look before it get ugly for him. And then he look at your guy, and you didn't plaster like, got your ass. And then this motherfucker look somewhere else and throw the ball for a completion. You like, nah.
That's what I like about CJ the
That's
most.
your third read. You know how degrading that is for a quarterback to hit his third read?
CJ don't play them rookie games, bro. I peeped that the first time we played him though. Like he don't do rookie like he play like he already lying to you with his eyes. He already lying to you with his drop. He already lying to you with his shoulder movements and little like that. That's some that you ain't supposed to really have till like year 6, 7, buddy. Okay. Whoever your trainer is, slow down, gang. Doing too much.
I mean, at least his trainer has one good quarterback. Maybe two. Jordan Love's not bad. Most of the David Mulligata clients are.
Well, doesn't matter if you're getting paid.
That's true. Deshaun Watson and Justin Fields are really getting a lot of help from David Mulligata there.
He could
or
retire.
Not Mulligata, Quincy Avery. That's the wrong person.
Well, Avery's the coach, but hang on.
Avery's the quarterback coach. Mulligata's the agent.
Quincy Avery's got takes.
Yeah, he does have takes.
Quincy Avery has takes.
He has no issue weighing in.
He does not. I'm looking forward to Colts Texans this year. Way more than the Jags. They're just so irrelevant in a lot of ways. Like maybe they'll surprise us, but I just don't view them as a threat to the Texans next year. Just the way they collapsed. Like to start that good and then for it to go that poorly. I'm honestly more intrigued by the Titans this year and just by what they added. I like what they did this offseason around Will Levis outside of the coach. Like I like the players they brought in. The coach is weird.
You can't get past that. I can't take him seriously. Nothing against Brian Callahan. He might be a good coach. You never know when someone who's hired if they're going to be good or bad. You really don't. But as far as
I like Boyd and Ridley.
This is like hiring Mike Munchak or Mike Malarkey again, which the Titans did. They love those. Just what? Who? And I mean, they hired the son of a guy who is best known for getting boat raced in the Super Bowl after taking over for John Gruden. And by the way, that guy is now their offensive line coach. He's very good at that because Bill Callahan is Brian Callahan's dad.
Yeah.
And now he's their offensive line coach.
It's very weird to have your dad work for you.
It is.
To be the head coach and your dad's coaching offensive line.
Yeah, I think he yells at him.
Probably not.
Like payback for all those years.
Probably not.
I
bet he treads carefully.
Do either of you think that you would be able to be an effective boss of your dad?
No.
I know I wouldn't. My dad would cut me off mid-sentence.
I'm also not sure if it would work vice versa. I don't know if my dad would be an effective boss of me either. I don't think it'll work like that.
I actually think I would do very well working for my dad. But I feel like I would also at certain points, because he's my dad, I would try to annoy him, and that would be where things would get to an issue because I'd be too goofy.
I guess I kind of did because he was my teacher.
You worked for your dad.
I mean, he was my director in musicals.
What grade did you get in his class?
Pretty sure I got an A.
Nice.
Pretty sure, not 100% sure.
I don't remember what I got in high school English my senior year.
You don't?
No. I know I got A in his speech class. That was easy.
Okay.
You gotta be an idiot to fail that stuff.
Gotcha.
All you have to do is talk and memorize a couple things. You're good to go. But yeah, I don't think I could boss my dad around. He has too many takes.
I always see you see it in college basketball a lot too, where guys play for their dads, like Doug McDermott and I forgot what his dad's name was.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are just bench guys who don't belong. All the Boeheim kids.
Even then, I'd be like, no, if I'm gonna walk on somewhere else. I'd be okay with using the nepotism to be one of Jim Boeheim's former assistants. Play for his team, but I wouldn't want to actually play for Jim Boeheim if I'm Buddy Boeheim or any coach. Boeheim especially, but any coach.
I don't know though. I mean,
I would not want to play for my dad.
Yeah, but you're gonna perhaps get tougher loving, and maybe teammates would resent you. But you're gonna have your best opportunities probably to play. You're going to get leeway that other players won't get.
Yeah,
by default. Is your dad gonna bench you to prove a point? Like it's Coach Carter?
You know what? I want tough coaching. I'm trying to get developed here, Paul. I'm not one of these new kids just trying to put up numbers and get an NIL deal. I'm trying to make myself not just a better player, but a better man. And that's the kind of coach I want.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if my dad would be the one to do it.
You don't think your dad's that guy?
to develop me as a man.
Not that dude.
Damn,
He did an all right job.
Dude,
He
I
did
hope
an
your
all
dad's
right
not
job.
listening right now.
But I want someone. I'd want. I can't even name a current college basketball. I'd want Dan Hurley to do the finishing touch.
Oh, nice. Okay.
he played his kid.
That is true.
He's a blowout kid. Like he only comes in when they're up by 30.
Most of them are. Doug McDermott. It's literally the only one that I can remember that was good.
Yeah.
Remember when Dabo Swinney's kid came in the game and they started kicking the ball off to him and they had to take him off the field?
Yeah.
That was very satisfying. As someone who hates Clemson.